Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the August meeting of the Arizona State Transportation Board to order. I don't think I've ever got to give the command of unmuting the room. That was kind of fun. So, as we are member elders district, I'd like to lead us in pledge of allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sam. All right, Karen, can you take the roll?
Chairman Maxwell,
Present.
Board Member Elters,
Present.
Board Member Heshtakai. Here. Board Member Giles.
Present.
Board Member Coleman.
Present.
And Board Member Howard. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum, you may proceed.
Thank you very much. Well, first off, I'd like to thank all of our board members and Doug, thank you for calling in and being online. For being here today, obviously with the League of Cities and Towns going on, there's been a lot going on, as well as having 2 vacant seats. And I'm hoping, I've been going to talk with the director afterwards. We're hoping to get at least 1, maybe 2 of these seats filled before the next board meeting, because what you're staring at right now is a quorum at its point. So if any one of us needs to either take a bathroom break, or if Doug, you're going to drop off or you have to go, please let us know so that we can maintain our quorum to continue the meeting. So it's going to be interesting on that front. My apologies for those that got together and hosted us last night for not being here last night. It's been a crazy week to say the least for me with meetings down in Tucson, so I drove up this morning. But I know that we always appreciate every time that a community will put something on it. Because the most important thing we do is get out into the communities and have the opportunity to talk to both the elected officials, to see the roads, and that's why I think this board, unlike a lot of boards, it's so important for us to continue to travel to and change locations throughout every year. And so we appreciate it, appreciate all the support. I want to thank those who were able to join me last night, and I want to see if any of them would like to make any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will make a couple of comments. I will tell you, we missed a very nice dinner last night. The chat was very nice and intimate, and we had a good visit with Supervisor Cucnillo as well as district staff and leadership. And this morning, again, had a very nice and productive visit along with breakfast. Great big thanks to the White Plan, the local NPO, as well as the supervisor and the mayor and staff that joined us. It is truly an opportunity to exchange thoughts, ideas, information, and priorities, and to connect with the community in a more effective way. So it started last night and continued through this morning, and we had
It's always great to see folks that are doing stuff that you're passionate about who are willing to step forward and run for public office. And we've had several on this board that either currently serve, have served, or are interested in serving again. But sometimes it keeps their schedules particularly challenging, so I appreciate everybody helping us, especially as we're down to 2 vacant seats right currently on the board. All right, can we please proceed with the announcement of the Title VI of the Civil Rights Act?
Pursuant to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Arizona State Transportation Board and ADOT do not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, or disability. No person will be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be otherwise subjected to discrimination under the Arizona State Transportation Board or ADOT program or activity. To assist in measuring the public's participation, we ask each individual to please complete an online self-identification survey, English or Spanish language version, and the link to that survey is shown on the agenda. For those in person, please fill out a survey card located at the entrance to the meeting room and leave these cards there. We will pick them up after the meeting. By completing this voluntary survey, ADOT will be able to determine who attends its public meetings and how the department can improve participation. The survey will also help ADOT fulfill federal reporting requirements. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So we've been asked to make sure we speak into the microphone for the folks online. For us, it sounds like it's really loud in this room, so if we could turn the volume in the room down a little bit, it may get us leaning a little closer into the microphone. We're going to move on to call the audience. We have both individuals in person as well as online that want to speak to us this morning. If you're telephonically, we will come to you after we finish the in-person calls to the audience, and we ask that you mute your lines and keep them muted throughout. When your name is called, provide your comments. If you're online, you indicate your presence by either virtually raising your hand using your phone, keypad, or through the WebEx application. The WebEx host will then guide you through the unmuting and muting process following instructions, and then after that, you'll be asked to begin your comments. In person, if you are here and you have not filled out one of these forms and would like to speak, please, you still have time to do so. Just bring it up to the board secretary, and we will begin with Mayor Kathy Houston, City of Preston.
Good morning, and I'd like to thank the board for being here today in the beautiful Central Highlands, the heart of Arizona. I just drove up from Phoenix this morning after attending the Arizona League of Cities and Towns, and I'm happy to report that traffic on I-17 flowed very smoothly and safely. And as we like to say up here in the Central Highlands, moving traffic is happy traffic. Yavapai County is the 4th largest county in the state by population, and it is growing. And Prescott is the economic driver for the Central Highlands, and Prescott Valley is close behind. We are a rural community and always have been overshadowed by Maricopa County and Phoenix. But things are changing. There are many opportunities here, and the state is starting to notice. Which brings me to why we are here today. I would like to thank the ADOT staff for all their hard work on the many projects that were accomplished this year. But there is much more left to do. Safe connectivity is critical to our success. Collaboration and cooperation, not competition, is our message here today. We will champion each other's projects, and that way, Yavapai County and Northern Arizona will thrive together as one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. County Supervisor Chris Cuyo. Hope I got that right, Chris.
No, you didn't, but like I always say, I went to Hungary about 15 years ago and found out I say it wrong too.
Well, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, you betcha, and I still do. I'm Yavapai County Supervisor Chris Kuknio of District 4, and by behalf of all the Y-Plan folks, we welcome you to Yavapai County. And Mayor Akel Paguda of Prescott Valley, he is our Y-Plan chair right now, he sends his greetings as well. I'm not surprised to see so few people here this morning, as last night was a celebration night at the League of Cities and Towns, so hats off to Mayor Rusing and Mr. Gallegos for getting up here. But what we do here today really is that important. Safe roads save lives. Relaxing travel lets us soak in the amazing place that we live. And everyone's project that they ask for funding for is the most important project. And it really is. All of our projects are so needed. Growth is expanding, and we have not kept up with our roads. Funding that has not seen change since the early 90s is worth less than half today. Our roads are deteriorating, and without action soon, I fear we are in for a world of hurt. Now more than ever, we need to send a unified message to state legislatures to find a permanent solution for transportation funding, be it through the League, CSA, or this body here today. The state's status quo cannot continue. The Y-Plan Board and myself look forward to working with all of you for a solution to send a unified message, fix it to the state legislature. Once again, welcome to Yavapai County, and we hope you guys enjoy your stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Appreciate it. Alan Kimball, the City Manager of Prescott.
Good morning. Thank you again for being here today, for joining us this morning for breakfast. I also wanted to echo the thank you that you heard from the others about the work that you've done and the work that's been done in Yavapai County. I don't know if everybody knows this about Prescott, but we have what is, I think, currently the 16th busiest airport in the country. We're busier than Dulles. We're busier than Reagan. We're busier than Salt Lake. We're busier than a lot of other major airports. And of course, a lot of that is training flights and cargo flights. It's also commercial flights. It's our wildfire base. It's a major hub. That airport serves a population of about 250,000 people. And so when we think about that as our region, we also think about some of the major projects that we are hoping to get done, right? We need to lengthen and strengthen that runway. We need to be thinking about future runways. We need to be thinking about future freeways and how are we going to connect the Quad Cities to 17 when 69 is too full and too busy. It can't continue to be the only way in and out to get to the valley. We're also talking about on-ramp projects to connect 89 and 89A. We've talked about those before, and additional capacity for our fire base. That fire base serves all of northern Arizona, and when there's a major incident, unfortunately right now in Prescott, we're making decisions about whether it's we aren't. The fire base is making decisions about are they going full of fuel or are they going full of retardant? Because they can't do both, right? And so we need to give them more space for helicopters, and we need to lengthen that runway, so they've got that option. And then just also the pedestrian connectivity and bike connectivity. As we do projects along 69 and along 89, 89A, thinking about how do we also connect the people who are walking or biking along those stretches. And you'll see requests that we'll make to the legislature this year about connecting major stretches there. So a lot going on here. I think a lot more to come. As has been mentioned, we're a growing area. We think there's a lot of really great things about to happen here as our industry starts to grow, I think at a rapid pace. And so we're looking forward to working together on making sure that our regional transportation network can support that, and our regional airport as it continues to become a bigger and bigger part of how people travel in and out of the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate all the support for that. Vinny Gallegos, Director of YPO.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Vinny Gallegos, Executive Director of Yavapai Plan, or Y-Plan for short. Hopefully that name's really starting to take root. You know, when we came up with it, we expanded our boundary. We went from 400 square miles to 6,000 square miles. But we wanted a name that recognized our geography, but that we could also kind of poke the conversation. And again, Y-Plan for short. So why do we plan? You know, that's what the MPO has done for the last 23 years, is we have planned for our region, for our community. We have planned for safety, for the residents, for all the traffic. And we realize it's an uphill conversation because planning's part of it. And then how do we deliver what we've planned for? And I am incredibly proud to represent a great region. This is my 14th year excuse me, in working in metropolitan planning efforts. And I had the privilege of being the director in Havasu and the director here the last little over 5 years now. And being born and raised in this community is incredibly meaningful to me, third generation. So to really be able to represent on our executive board the city of Prescott, town of Prescott Valley, town of Dewey-Humboldt, town of Chino Valley, and greater Yavapai County. We have about 175,000 in population, a little over 6,000 square miles, most of Yavapai County excluding the Verde Valley. In that area, we have I-40, I-17, State Route 69, State Route 89, State Route 89A, and State Route 169. What we shared at breakfast, and I want to repeat, is we stand side by side with ADOT Director Toth, with you as a board, with staff, to really not only plan, not only understand the issues, but stand by your side to figure out how we deliver it. Right now, our MPO is doing a good list of ADOT planning projects. We're looking at design concept reports on the widening of 89, which is north of on the end of Prescott Valley. How do you add additional lane capacity in the town of Chino Valley on State Route 89 between roads 3 and 5 north? That particular project is our #1 regional project. We're working with the state legislature. Shout out to Representatives Wynn and Bliss, who have been real champions for our area. They've brought about $27 million of one-time funding over the last 5 years. We're working with them as we speak on state route projects. We're looking at a multi-use path along State Route 69 between Prescott and the town of Prescott Valley. That's about a $4 million project that we're looking to complete. Referenced earlier was an on-ramp project. That's a $5.5 million project that is shovel-ready. We're looking for the state legislature to work with us to add $4 million to local contributions, about $1.5 million, and then in closing, again, State Route 89 between roads 3 and 5 north. That's looking at about a $40 million project that we'll be asking the state legislature for. So again, thank you all for your service. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate that time. Thank you.
Thank you. John Cooper.
Thank you. My name is John Kiebrick. I am the Capital Projects Manager for the Prescott Regional Airport. This morning I'm kind of wearing two hats. I'm representing the Prescott Regional Airport, but also the Arizona Airports Association, or ASA. They represent 67 of the public use airports all across the state of Arizona. And as we talk about it, and you'll hear a lot of funding, well, the aviation fund is supported by the fuel flowage fees from the aircraft and from pilots' registration fees. However, those funds are not safeguarded. That's all gets put into the general fund. And during 2025, those funds were swept, leaving a funding shortfall for all these airports. And not all the funding is going to be able to fix and repair all the issues, but the biggest problem that we have is we don't want to be losing the funds. But to this, we want to make a stronger voice with the Department of Transportation. It isn't a thing where airports and highways are against each other. It's a symbiotic relationship. We need both to transform people primarily, efficiently, but mostly safely. But the other part is commerce, bringing those into the communities. The airports in and around the area bring in a lot of commerce into the cities, especially for Prescott Regional. We have commercial service that we go to Denver and LA. Last year we had about 25,000 employments. We're looking to be increasing to 30,000. And as Dallin Campbell, the city manager, had mentioned, we're currently the 16th busiest airport in the nation. 4 of the busiest airports in the top 20 are in Arizona. We have a very busy skies here. But there's a lot of opportunity with that. And what we'd like to do is for the Airports Association to have a stronger voice, or even a voice, in the Department of Transportation. A couple of the things that I've noticed that are on the agenda is the multimodal report. Does that report also include the airports and how big of effect do we have there? The other one is the rural transportation. Again, you have 60 of the, it's actually about 58 of the airports that are outside of the Phoenix metro area. How do those airports fit into that rural transportation study? And then part of that is the AZ SMART program. Again, how does that go with the airports? The airports have a critical infrastructure. Dallin pointed out some of those, but I'm going to just highlight the one, which was the Pocket Fire, which was just at the a month and a half ago. We both, it was both Prescott and Sedona both supported that fire, and successfully. So it's a huge infrastructure that needs to be protected. So again, thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate your remarks. Thank you. Dave Norton with the Big Park Council.
Good morning, Director Toth and Chairman Maxwell, members of the board. My name is Dave Norton. I am the elected chair of the Red Rock Road Enhancement Maintenance District. That's a mouthful, so REMDI is the short name for that. It's Highway 179 in the village of Oak Creek, and I'm representing the Big Park Council this morning. You've heard from us many times before, and I'm here talking about our favorite exit, 298, the forgotten stepchild of the Arizona highway system. And I see you have vacant seats on this board. Director Toth knows how to reach me, so does Audra Maxwell, and Audra Merritt, and Jeremy DeGuyter. Either I can fill a seat or I can find you people to fill seats. Reach out. I-17 has had a lot of work done on it. We've got flex lanes, we've got the Powell interchange done, we got the Munns Park interchange done, we've got the 169 interchange work done, we've got the 260. We even have a crossing for elk, but we've forgotten people. Exit 298, just as a reminder, was built in 1961. That's older than some of the people in this room, 65 years old, before cars had seatbelts in them, and we're still using it today in 2026 to handle current traffic, which has changed dramatically. We've had fatalities there. We have a lot of problems there. And we've got some stop signs that were added to try and address the southbound exits, especially from trucks who don't know what a stop sign is for, and that is how we've had people killed there. Just earlier this week, we had a truck come down the hill, and at exit 298, his brakes overheated, he caught on fire and started a grass fire. So this goes on and on and on. But the exit itself cannot handle the current traffic safely. We're begging you, I'd get on my knees except it'd be hard to get up again. We're begging you to put that exit back on the 5-year plan. It's been there twice, and for some reason, it gets greased off of there. So we really need to look at that exit long and hard. We've had designs done for it that are beautiful, that will handle the traffic with some nice roundabouts and, landscape it up nice for the tourists and the locals that drive through there every day, but we really need to get that exit back on the plan for safety. Because 65 years of one exit, I think it served its time, and we really need to do something with that. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave. All right, do we get any other cards from anyone in the audience here? All right, we will move on to those joining us telephonically or by WebEx. We're going to start with Jeff Swan, also from the Peg Park Regional Council.
Mr. Swan, I sent you a request to unmute.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Swan. We can hear you. Please begin.
Sure.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can. You can begin your comments.
Okay, I'd like to follow up with Mr. Norton's comments. There is, concerning the I-17, 179 interchange, or 298 as it calls it. We're talking about problems today at that interchange, both capacity and safety. The ones that are, of course, come to mind where the trucks run the interchange because they lost their brakes. But we also have another issue in the northbound, on the northbound on-ramp from 179 to I-17. We've got a mix of trucks downshifting, slowing down because of a major grade, and cars trying to accelerate. While the traffic is not great there, the mixture is, we've been very fortunate, nothing has happened. What I'd like to suggest, and from my experience in the past, is we're talking about problems today, issues that are very important. It's going to take 3 to 5 years to get this project on the ground working easily. We have we'll have environmental issues. We have Forest Service involved. So we'd really like to see this program or this project at least started, and asking the board's advocacy to get this project into the program as an amendment, and so we can start that process, so we can get address these issues in the first period of time. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Swan. Robert Barrett.
Mr. Barrett, I've seen a request to unmute. Please press *6. You are unmuted.
Good morning, everyone. 3 different things talking on this. I wasn't sure if I heard my name properly.
Yes, Mr. Barrett, please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, State Transportation Board. Scott Barrett is my name. I live in Lake Havasu City. I did address the group last month regarding some issues, safety issues with State Route 95 south of Lake Havasu City. So I'm here again trying to rally support for the funding required to make significant but necessary improvements to State Highway 95 in western Arizona between I-40 south through Lake Havasu City towards Parker. I mentioned last month the 23 people that have died in the last 6 years on the 11 miles between Lake Havasu City and Parker. And I also gave 9 specific improvements necessary to improve safety, including center line rumble strips. We have referenced an article from a couple of years ago that talked about all these fatalities and mentioned a gentleman who works for the Department of Public Safety, Aaron Andrews. He's Public Information Supervisor. He said the most common cause for a fatal collision is a driver crossing the center line of the roadway, causing a head-on collision. The next crossing the center line can be caused by a variety of factors, including drowsiness, being a sleepy driver, driving under the influence, or inattention. Related to this is the 109 improvements both for South Lake Havasu and North Lake Havasu are center line rumble strips. Segueing now to a project that was completed in 2024 north of Lake Havasu and also south. The section north of Lake Havasu included in its executed contract center line rumble strips. These rumble strips were never installed. And the reason for that, according to the management up in the Northwest District, was because the engineer decided that the edge line rumble strips were not needed, and therefore the center line rumble strips were never installed. The reason I'm here today is I'm hoping that someone will get back to me. You have my contact information, letting me know why that would be the case. I Googled the following question to AI: if edge rumble strips are not needed on a road, the Department of Transportation still install center line rumble strips? And AI told me yes, the Department of Transportation would still install needed center line rumble strips, even if edge line rumble strips are not needed, because there are different safety goals. Center line rumble strips can improve safety by up to 50%, and it's a very economical and very safety conscious measurement to do. But unfortunately, these center line rumble strips were not installed because of some questions about whether the side rumble strips. I'm wondering, because I'm confused about why this is the case, would someone at ADOT please contact me? Because I'm hoping that we can add to the safety of State Route 95, both north of Lake Havasu and south. And rumble strips, center line, are an important part of this. Thank you for your attention and for your possible feedback to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. All right, that completes our call to the audience today. We'll now move on to the director's report. Director Clark.
Good morning, everyone. We're very happy to be here in Prescott Valley this morning. I have a few agency updates to let you know about. First up, I want to share that our Deputy State Engineer in Design, Michael Denblaker, was awarded the Dr. L.I. Hughes Award at last month's WashTow Annual Conference. And this award recognizes transportation officials who develop efficiencies, they build partnerships, and advance their DOT's highway development program. I've worked with Mike for more than 15 years, and I can say he has a great ability to elevate and support his teams, which has really helped our agency be more efficient and innovative when it comes to design. He's been very instrumental in developing our digital delivery initiative, and also played a major role in designing a few new frameworks to more efficiently manage project data as well. So this recognition is definitely well deserved, and I give a big congratulations to Mike for his accomplishments. Next slide, please. Next up, it's that time again when we put out a call to the public and ask people to get creative while focusing on safety. It's the 10th year of our safety message contest. Kicked off earlier this month and drew more than 1,700 entries, which is great participation. We've narrowed it down to the top 10, and we have opened the voting. So please feel free to, I encourage you to go to azdot.gov /sign contest, go for your favorite message. They're always fun to see exactly how people get so creative and innovative with our safety messages. It's a great opportunity to engage with the public. And then moving on, next slide, please. I was honored to give welcoming remarks earlier this month at the Arizona Transportation Research Summit. This summit showcased some of the research happening through the Arizona Transportation Institute, which is a partnership between ADOT and the state's 3 public universities. We're actually coming on 2 years since the partnership kicked off. And in that time, the Institute has really gained a lot of momentum. From AI technology to pavement smoothness to consumption costs and driver training programs, the faculty and students are covering a wide range of issues and helping to discover those new solutions that will be meaningful and make a difference for years to come. So it was a great event and really wonderful chance to see the partnership in action. Next up, I want to quickly share that we held a successful series of regional leadership summits earlier this month for ADOT supervisors and managers. The summit focused on recognition, leading with empathy, and critical conversations. Overall, the goal really was to take a closer look at how our leaders collaborate and support employees and how we can improve. We had a great response, and we're going to be building on that momentum to continue building leadership skills for our managers and our supervisors. And next slide. Finally, I'll leave you with a safety message. It's back to school season. You may have noticed the increase in traffic, along with pedestrians and bicyclists. So as you're driving, please remember to watch for children as they walk and bike to school. Kids can be very unpredictable. If you've raised any, they can definitely be unpredictable. So anticipate they might dart up into the path of your vehicle. Slow down, especially on those residential streets and near school, and be prepared to stop. So with that, I'll turn it back to the board, and thank you. I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, any board members have any questions for Director Tom? Member Coleman, just want to make sure, if you have any questions, make sure throughout the meeting, make sure you speak up. And because we love your input as well. All right, Director, the only thing I'd ask is that we can talk about it more later. Obviously, the quorum is something that we'll have to worry about. So any encouragement you might be able to give to the governor's office to try to fill the 2 vacancies. So we don't have to face every meeting. I mean, it was just Wednesday when we said, okay, where to go? So we hate, especially with the communities that put on planning and have things to do and the importance of getting that those communities. So appreciate all the support and help on that. All right, we'll move on to item number 2, district report for the Northwest District with Kara Lavertu.
Good morning and welcome to the Northwest District. My name is Kara Lavertu and I am the district administrator. Next slide, please. I'm going to go over some of the projects we've completed and are under construction right now here in the Yavapai Prescott area. So we have these are complete projects we've completed in the last year. We had the SR 89 Big Chino Road to Bramble Drive that installed a 2-way left turn lane out there at in Paulton. We have a local project at Williamson Valley Road at Stasincy Road. We installed 2 left turn lanes, a northbound and a southbound at that intersection. One of the projects that Vinny brought up was the Press Place Parkway to Heather Heights. It's on SR 69. We widened to 3 lanes in there. And Wickenburg ADA, we upgraded ADA ramps and some driveways and some sidewalk down there in the Wickenburg area on US 60. And on US 60, we also finished a pavement preservation from SR 74 to the south end of Wickenburg. Next slide, please. Here are some pictures. SR 69 is on the left-hand side, some of the completed intersections. One is looking into Prescott, the other is over by the Holiday Drive intersection. On the right-hand side is our SR 99 2-way left turn lane in Big Chino, and that is a completed project. Next slide, please. Excuse me. On the left is the ADA ramp, some pictures of that, and on the right is the Yavapai County project with the Stasincy Road intersection. Next slide. We currently have some projects under construction up on I-40, Markham-Wash to Seligman eastbound. We're completing a pavement preservation, some guardrail work is underway right now, and some bridge work is going to be done with that project. We do also have a northbound passing lane, which is on SR 89 north of the Drake intersection. That will be starting up. They should be setting temporary concrete barrier next week and starting the earthwork early September. One that's probably near and dear to some of the people that live in this area is the SR 69 Lee Boulevard to the Walker, east of Walker. That was right near Costco. where we extended the third lane going southbound at SR 69, completed a micro seal, installed some center medians. We should be complete with that project August 31st with final striping. And then the next one I'm sure is also highly anticipated is the I-17 Sunset Point to SR 69. We're completing a project right now for pavement preservation. They are currently southbound in the travel lane and should be flipping around to the northbound passing lane hopefully next week. Next slide, please. These are the local government projects under construction in our district right now. We have Iron Springs Road at North Tonto Road, which is installing a passing lane. They have started that, and we'll be setting temporary concrete barrier to start the earthwork next week. This is combined with the Iron Springs Road at Skyline Drive, which is also a passing lane on the same road. And same thing, they'll be setting the TCB and starting that earthwork next week. We have a Big Bird Creek Bridge. This is in Mayer. It's a local project, and they'll be doing a deck rehabilitation on that. That just started, so they're working on some middles and a plan of action. We have the Wash Bridge at Walnut Grove. This is near Kirkland, kind of south of Wilhoit out there. We are almost complete with that job. It was kind of an interesting one where they built a box culvert under an existing bridge to widen it. It was a one-lane bridge. It is now 2 lanes. Next slide, please. And here's some pictures of that. There's the Wash Bridge at Walnut Grove. That is almost done. They'll be completing the paving and striping next week. And I've got some pictures of the Sunset Point SR 69. They're not super exciting because they're at night, but there they are rolling and placing that pavement. Next slide, please. Here's the Marco Mosh and Slibman TI. Again, they're placing that pavement. That's that new SMA. And got some pictures of the SR 69 Lee Boulevard to East Walker Road with the islands there at Costco. Next slide. Couple things I wanted that I didn't put on my slides. We do have a project on the consent agenda today for ADA ramps there in Chino Valley. And we do have 2 projects advertised. The one that Vinny has been talking about, the SR 169 and 69 roundabout, that is supposed to open in October. And we do have a large expansion job there north of Wickenburg, US 93 Vista Royale, that is also on advertised right now. Will open in October. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that.
Yes.
There's a lot of activity going on. I'm sure you'd love to have you more. I tell you, nothing looks better than a freshly paved.
Right.
Do any of our board members have any questions for Karen?
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your report. All right. Today we have 11 different items for action on our consent agenda. Does any member of the board want to remove any items from the consent agenda? Okay. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Right.
move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. All right, we have a motion by Member Elders and a second by Member Giles to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, I heard the online vote. Thank you. We pass the consent agenda unanimously. Now we'll move on to the financial report with JP.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Maxwell, members of the board. It's nice to be here today, especially in Prescott where we get a little relief from the weather. And we can go to the next slide. Okay, I do not think we've had the opportunity to brief the board on the 27 HERF forecast, the fiscal year 27 HERF forecast, and that is $1,870,900,000. It equates to a 1% forecasted growth rate above the 26 actual. And for comparison, FY26 grew 0.8% above FY25. Year to date on the slide, you can see we have the July data, and revenues came in In July at 156.8 million, that's 6.8% above forecast, and that equates to almost $10 million. And it's 6.1% above FY26 actuals for June. And next slide. I typically at this point would talk about the monthly data. We just talked about July as year to date. It's the same at this point in the year. However, on this slide we can see when we're looking and we experience a 6.8% difference from the forecast. We can look and it's kind of pinpointed to 3 categories: used fuel, vehicle license tax, and motor carrier and registration. So we will continue, this is one data point, and we'll continue to observe and see what happens in the coming months. Next slide. For RARF, we now have FY26 data complete, and those revenues were $798 million. It ended up 1.3% above forecast, which is within our target range. And it was 3.9%, which equates to $30 million above FY25 actuals. Next slide. June RARF revenues were $67 million, and that is $2 million or 3.2% above the June 26 actual, and interestingly, within $69,000 or 0.1% below the estimate for June. Next slide. Okay, a couple of updates here. Probably most important, and we've been kind of reporting to the board monthly just as we watch the surface transportation reauthorization. Congress is advancing a short-term continuing resolution to avert a government shutdown. The Senate passed a continuing resolution through December 11th, while the House will need to get, the 2 chambers will need to get reconciled because the House had been considering a December 4th proposal. So we'll continue to watch. We're trying to make sure we're up to speed on what's in and what's out on those. Next slide. This is the time that we bring program status. And as of June 30th, the original program, which isn't super clear because it's not shown, but that amount was $2.1 billion. Additional capacity comes from award adjustments, final voucher releases, project cancellations to get it to 2.7 billion. And through June, we had obligated the entire original program and the vast majority of those adjustments, so I think we are in good shape. And that is the end of my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Do any board members have any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Member O'Keefe.
I have a comment more than a question, really. Thank you for the info. I'm happy to see the growth and understanding we're talking about 1 month in 2027. Well, I'm happy to see the growth of 6.8% when you build in a little further and you peel that onion. You notice that that is the result of VLT growing. In HERF specifically, the gas tax is a minus number. Again, it's under 1%, but nonetheless, it's a negative number. So, thank goodness, VLT is carrying the day. I think, as it is, our challenges are real to fund the needs related to transportation around the state. to rely on the gas tax revenue. And again, he makes the point that was discussed some months ago, which is now the gas tax and VLP has flipped, and VLP is a larger portion or percentage of the funds that are used to preserve and modernize and expand on the state system. So thanks for the information and for keeping us informed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Member Elders. Any other questions? Because I do have a couple. One, can you give us that total number? Your question?
Yeah.
Question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If we can go back to, I think, 2 slides before this. Okay, forward. Okay, on this one, the revenue forecast versus actual. I just wanted to take a quick look at it and then I have a question. Okay. Now I said, well, we get the negative 1%. Okay. Sorry for that.
No problem. It's always good because sometimes we run through these financial slides really quickly and don't really take everything in. For those looking at the slides right now, remember RARF's about a month behind HERF. So that's why you saw in the HERF one, where this is the annual one for RARF. Will be very interesting to see how these numbers compare because we do not have the LT in the calculation. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of growth, if any, on these numbers we get next year. Because Member Elders, your points are very, very true. We've talked about modernization, the need of our infrastructure funding for a long time, and we'll continue to be a conversation until we get it addressed. So, Jake, can you please give me that number for the forecast for the fiscal year 27 again?
Yes. $1,870,900,000.
Thank you. That brings into perspective some of the conversations we had earlier. We were trying to come up with a modernization with the need of increasing between $600 million and $1 billion. So you're talking about if we do try to address this, we want to kind of at a minimum increase it by a third and hopefully see something even larger. But again, that's going to take a lot of collaboration with many different entities, particularly with the ability of our elected officials, both at the state legislature and within the governor's office, to come together on a solution. And it's going to be important for us to continue to chase that. I'll probably say that every meeting now until I'm no longer on the board, so we'll do this one. Question for you on the short-term federal surface transportation funding. So the Senate's passed one and the House is going. We're monitoring what's IJ had a lot of one-time funding. And what are you seeing right now on what this short-term continuation funding is going to look like relative to the entire IJ package or the specifics?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Maxwell. And we can go back and pull a summary together if that would be helpful. A couple of things that I would note: contract authority for state transportation programs is preserved and prorated at the current levels. So that is a good thing. It omits the IIJA's $36.8 billion annual advance appropriations, and so that is kind of on the other side of the ledger.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we did, as we see more clarity in that, obviously, the biggest thing is we made some forecast assumptions into our current fiscal year based on what we expected. If we start running short on that, it's probably something we need to identify. Or fiscally, obviously, side that it's always easier if there's more there than we want, then obviously the system will be put into full effect. So I appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Again, thank you for the brief.
Thank you.
All right, as we move on to before we do, just the people will be coming up to brief, I just want to give a personal thanks to Iqbal Hussain, who we've been hearing from him for multiple years in this role. But he moved on to do some new challenges and might be benefiting Southern Arizona. So sorry, Director, that's
Good morning, Chair Maxwell, members of the board. It's my pleasure to present to you today. As mentioned, I will be giving an update on the tribal transportation activities since the last board meeting in July. Next slide, please. So to go through some of our outreach since the last meeting related to our tribal government consultation policy, we did hold a couple different meetings. Informational meetings were held on July 22nd and 23rd to gather critical input on the consultation policy. And core areas of revision within that policy contain consultation definition, guiding authorities, and supportive actions. I'm happy to report that we had strong engagement in these outreach activities with 8 tribes and 3 separate agencies attending and participating. The next steps for the tribal consultation policy in the feedback window, formal responses are requested by the morning of September 8th, and a virtual meeting will be held on September 8th to analyze collective feedback. And then also a final presentation will be made on the consultation policy on October 14th in Flagstaff. Next slide, please. Moving on to additional outreach activities outside of the consultation policy. Many of you are aware that we have an ongoing statewide listening tour associated with What Moves You Next Move Arizona statewide long-range transportation plan. There have been a couple different meetings since the last board meeting, or listening tour sessions, I should say. One was held on July 18th, on another on July 21st. And then finally, a project-specific presentation was given on the State Route 347 Improvement Project to District 5 of the Gila River Indian Community on August 11th. Upcoming engagement and milestones, there's a planned partnership meeting with the San Carlos Apache Tribe in San Carlos, Arizona on September 10th. We have an industry conference, Arizona Roads and Streets. Many of you may be familiar with that conference. It's occurring in Tucson on September 24th, and there will be some Native Nation tracks spanning 4 tribal presentation sessions at that conference. And then finally, with related to tribal outreach activities, staff will be hosting the ADOT Tribal Transportation Meeting in Flagstaff for the final review of the Native Nation Tribal Government Consultation Policy Update on October 14th of this year. And this item is only for discussion, so I can take any questions at this time.
Any board members have any questions?
Yes, Mr.
Member
Chair.
Pesca.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin, for the report and all the work that you do, and all the ADOT staff that do the outreach activities. Is there a survey or assessment that you all do in these outreach activities that you could share with us at some point?
Board Member Peshlik, I believe we do keep track of attendance at all these events through meeting notes, minutes, and then there's also that is tracked. I'm not sure exactly of the mechanism, to be completely honest, but I know we could give a report on overall attendance at all of these events that I mentioned today.
Thank you. I think in the future going forward, I think it would be a good idea to do some kind of assessment and satisfaction survey beyond putting in new roads everywhere to support these events.
Okay.
Thank you for all you do. Yeah.
Thank you for those comments, Member Pesca. And I agree. I think when we see the number of times we go and do outreach, that's a lot of work for you. You guys do a lot of, you're
I'm not entirely sure, to be completely honest, Chair Maxwell.
So, yes, the aeronautics group is within multimodal planning division, and I had already made a note of somehow trying to tie the airport pavement preservation projects, reporting that out as well.
Well, as a pilot, I greatly appreciate that as well. And compliments to the airport manager that brought up the idea, because it's, the numbers that caught me, I've quite often from this dais talked about the number of small aircraft and recreational pilots there are, and how much training we have out here, both militarily, the number of military flying operations. There's a reason, the good weather creates flying opportunities. There's so much diversity of terrain, of environments. There's so much training you can do in this state. So you were having, I never realized we had 4 of the top 20 in the nation. That is something that I think, as a state, we can really leverage and talent, because that is, when you talk about busy airports, I'd like to see us get a little bit more money in that somewhere. But as we know, that area is one area is even more than, I think we effectively got legislature to stop sweeping her funds, but we also have to continue to protect those, and now I think that aviation sometimes loses that opportunity. So we'd love to see that in the multi-modal planning division board as well, or, we have to create an aerospace, aeronautical division report as well. Fewer reports are better sometimes. All right, thank you, Justin, for that one.
Thank you,
So
Chair.
we can move on to still for the Arizona State Match Advantage for Rural Transportation, AZ Smart Fund Program report.
Thank you, Chair Maxwell, members of the board. So I just wanted to start out by giving a high-level overview of the EV program. I know it's been discussed at several previous meetings, but I know everybody's got busy lives, so I thought I'd give an overview of
Sorry for that,
the program as a whole.
There's the EV report still under item 5.
Okay.
And planning report. Then any last minute items after that you can cover as well. Then we'll move on.
Okay. So just go ahead with this one, sorry.
Yes, we're still,
okay.
we went back
Okay.
to item 5.
Okay, thank you. So I wanted to give a brief overview of the NEVI program. It's been a topic of discussion, as I mentioned. So this is a strategic priority of Governor Hobbs. It's the number 2 priority behind public safety. And as a refresher, there is quite a bit of federal funding that has been allocated to the NEVI program for the state of Arizona to the tune of $76.5 million. I'm happy to report that the plan does enable expenditure of that funding and construction of up to 79 NEVI charging stations throughout the state. It is a really good program for the state in the sense that the program is, and the actual charging stations are operated by private contractors that provide the 20% federal match and 80% federal funds as part of that mix, and 0 state funds are utilized for this program. So from a return on investment standpoint for state dollars, that you can't really get much better than that. It is, like I just mentioned, a P3 delivery model where the state does not maintain, own, and operate the charging stations. So once we get these stations up and running, the operations will be contracted out with our oversight. And then going into the execution process, the board may be aware that there are several different phases that are in different stages of enactment. So phase 1 was the first phase, obviously, where we moved those projects into active operations. The phase 2 projects are successfully moving in forward with developer contracts, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the phase 3 projects on the following slides. Next slide, please. So the major concern right now is that at the Congress level, there are discussions going on about potentially sweeping this funding in the next federal transportation authorization. So it's in our best interest to act and make sure that we have the phase 3 projects approved. And I will actually be presenting those as part of item number 7, the Priority Planning Advisory Committee presentation for formal adoption. But time is of the essence with regards to this, and I have to give credit to our staff with regards to making sure that we're expedient in developing and delivering this program. So we're actually in a really good position, in my opinion, to approve the projects today and hopefully obligate or appropriate the funds by the end of September, which is the end of the federal fiscal year. The program status, there are a lot of good things have happened that have gotten us to this point. So we've received full build-out certification. A lot of staff work went into that. And basically what that means is that we're not only relegated to the alternative fuel corridors for EV charging stations. That gave us a lot of flexibility with regards to where we could site these EV stations to best serve our population. As we're all aware in this room, we have a very diverse state. Where there's important populations that don't always live close to major state routes in the interstate system. So this development was really instrumental in making sure that we could have wide coverage for all the populations and have an equitable approach. That full build-out certification also gave us flexibility in the required distance between EV charging stations. We went from a 50-mile minimum limit between stations to 90 miles, which increased flexibility. And then, as I kind of alluded to or mentioned before, the phase 3 scope are projects that I'm going to be asking for approval of in item number 7 today, is consistent of $45 million in investment that equates to 49 new sites throughout the state. That adds to that total 79 stations at the bottom of the slide there. So there's a total of 79 stations in the overall network at build-out when you combine phase 1, 2, and 3. Next slide, please. So I know at the last Transportation Board meeting in July, there were a couple projects that needed to be canceled. One of those was at Twin Arrows. There was one at Petrified Forest National Park and another Grand Canyon National Park. And I'm happy to report that through that full build-out designation that I just articulated, the flexibility allowed us to close some of those gaps. If you focus on the red dots on this map, you'll see that there is wide coverage throughout the state. And like I mentioned before, we're covering the diversity of our population as best we can. So just wanted to bring that up because I know last month there were some concerns about those 3 projects or EV stations being removed, but I'm happy to report that even though we weren't able to build those, we don't have major gaps in the system at this time. So with that, this is a discussion only item, but I'm happy to take any questions the board has.
All right, any questions from any members of the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Member Oates.
Having asked and made some comments at the last board meeting or the one before when the 3 were presented to be deleted, I wanted to comment and say this is an excellent summary. Thank you for the information. It truly helps see the overall program and understand it. And Mr. Chairman, I did review the agenda as other board members, I'm sure, and can't wait to make a motion for the board to approve what is going to be presented. I'll tell you, with the size of the state, the gaps that exist for those that drive electric vehicles and need to recharge, the need to populate the corridors, and the fact that there are no state funds involved, and fully aware of the term sweeping funds, whether it's federal or state, I think it's great that staff has worked so hard to program all those dollars and make the best use of those federal dollars in the state where it's needed. So kudos, thank you, excellent presentation, and I look forward to the board approving the PPAC agenda when presented. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Board Member Oates.
Thanks, Member Johnson.
Thank you. Great presentation. As an electric vehicle driver, I feel a pain in those who have anxiety over this issue. And the phase 2 of it, there still are, looking at this map, big swaths of the state that we've got maybe a green, but the majority of the dots are in blue and red category. What's the timing for phase 2 and phase 3?
So phase 2 and phase 3, phase 1 is actually moving into installment or construction. phase one, I should say, if I didn't say that. Phase two is working through the contracting process. So it will be moving into installation and construction very soon, or some of those are actually moving into the implementation phase now. And then with phase three, with the approval today, we'll be able to begin the negotiations with the P3 contractors to move those into installment and construction as well. So they're at various stages. There's a lot of overlap. That's probably why my answer seems a little bit convoluted, but exactly. It all kind of depends on the agreement with the individual providers and how quickly they can mobilize their resources. But in general, in logical order, phase one tends to be ahead of phase two and three. But with that approval of phase three today, we can hopefully finalize our agreements with the contractors for phase three and move towards installment and construction.
Well, I appreciate the sense of urgency because there still is some anxiety for folks that are driving electric vehicles in the state. Thank you.
Member Pesca.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question. Can you tell me if tribal nations are applying for these funding to install these stations on the reservations?
So the way, Board Member Peshlakai, the way the program is set up, the actual local governments and tribes don't apply directly. So the NEVI program lays out the overall framework and locations, but then we utilize a solicitation process for private contractors to actually bid on constructing, maintaining, and operating those EV charging stations. And the tribes were consulted as part of the NEVI plan development. That was really where the touch point was with those communities. And then, so pretty much that's where the outreach occurred.
All right, I've got a couple of questions to follow up on this. As I look at the map, the three sites that we did not get bids on last time, there was a lack of bids. That's the reason they did not move forward. They were taken off. Are those still depicted on this chart?
They're no longer depicted on this chart, and the red dots in the vicinity of the locations that were canceled last time, that was Petrified Forest National Park, Twin Arrows, and Grand Canyon National Park. In general, if you look at this map, we were able to cite phase three facilities to cover those gaps, but to answer your question directly, those dots are no longer on this map because two of those locations didn't have the adequate utilities for the charging because they draw on a lot of power, and then one of them also didn't have bids because of the way the projects were bundled and it didn't make sense for the private sector.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to check with the director. I know Member Peshlika stepped out momentarily, but because we're on it for discussion only portion, we can continue legally, correct? Okay, thank you. So does this map depict using the laydown now using the 90 miles versus the 50?
So they're not all necessarily exactly 90 or 50 miles. We just have the flexibility. So some of these, if you were to measure as the crow flies, they probably are more than 50 miles apart, and that's the result of the full build-out designation that we got from the feds. But yeah, I guess to answer your question, that there's pretty big variance with regards to the distance between the sites, and a lot of that was driven by obviously making sure that we have connectivity and there's not gaps, but then a lot of the constraints that play into these types of facilities, it comes down to the electrical for the siting because they draw so much power. But in general, we tried to make sure that we, so I guess with the 50-mile rule, we just had a lot more flexibility to mitigate those gaps.
I understand that. And then the last question I've got on this one, again, I appreciate all the work on moving forward with this. It's one of those things that you need when we have the opportunity, when we see things to go moves forward. We've seen it even on the state legislature with funds that are appropriated for certain roads. If they don't move forward, it just opens up an opportunity for people to call back, even though obviously at one point they thought it was a worthwhile project. One of the things we had a problem with appearance was that some of the more remote charging stations in a P3 environment would often just do one individually, so we asked for that
Chair Maxwell, that's a great question and comment, and we did indeed look into that, and that's part of the reason why Phase 3 was so successful. So I guess the technical term for it is that we expanded the range for the contractors and to encompass a larger array of EV charging stations when they proposed, so that it was fiscally more viable for them. And that was in reaction to your comment, like before, we weren't getting bids on some of these more remote EV charging locations because it just didn't make sense to send personnel and equipment out to remote areas of the state. But now, the way they're bundled, if there is a project, let's say on I-40, that doesn't fiscally make sense for a contractor, the way they're bundled, they may have, like hypothetically on I-40, if there's one single location that doesn't make sense, that location, in a lot of chances, in a lot of instances, would be bundled with other locations nearer to Flagstaff, so that, to a degree, I guess the way to articulate it is that if one site isn't necessarily profitable for them, the other sites that are in that bundle will make it profitable as a bundle. So that was really something that I have to commend staff doing, is thinking about that bundling and extending the range so that it's profitable for the private sector.
Perfect. We thank you and appreciate you taking that input. It's always good to know that, not only when the public speaks, but when we speak, that the department's responses. So thank you for that. Thank you, Director. All right, any other comments or questions on the NETI program? Any last minute items in the multimodal planning division before we move on? Okay, perfect. Now we'll move into item 6, the Arizona State Match Advantage for Rural Transportation, AZ Smart.
Thank you, Chair Maxwell, members of the board. So we had a good discussion last month about the AZ Smart program. Just wanted to give a high-level overview of how good of a deal, so to speak, this is for the state. So just as a high-level overview, there's been 49 grants awarded under the AZ Smart program to date. Overall state funding contributed to from the program has been roughly $58 to $59 million, but the return on our investment has been roughly $174 million in federal dollars. So if you do the math, we're getting about $2.98, almost $3 for every single state dollar spent. So just gives validity to the good return on investment of this program and why it's important to the state. With that, at the July meeting, if you recall, there's a lot of concerns about the funding sweeps and all the different funding categories. Some of the categories, 2 out of the 5, were actually negative in balance, which I don't think anybody's really happy about. So one thing we did do at the direction of the board of staff is we went back and we looked at the applications that have already been submitted with support from the AZ Smart program to different federal discretionary grant programs, and we tried to ascertain whether or not any of those projects had not been awarded, because if those projects had not been awarded by the feds, that means we could rescind that match money and put it back into the program. It is good and bad news depending on how you look at it. Every single grant application that we submitted under the program in partnership with the applicants was accepted and funded by the feds, so that's the good news. The bad news is that since those were funded, that match funding that we contributed through the AZ Smart program is not available for use in the future. So, a plus and a minus there. In addition to doing that analysis, staff did look at the current applications that are required to have discretionary federal grant applications by September 30th by statute as a requirement of the program. And it is good news again that every single applicant has met that requirement and submitted their federal discretionary grant application on time. But I guess the negative side of that is since everybody's on time, there is no additional funding to be rescinded back into the categories that are lacking funding. So the long and short of all that is that, there's some success stories there, but we don't have any additional funding coming into the categories in the program at this time after our analysis. So with that, next slide, please. This is the August AZ Smart Fund overview that you're familiar with. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, unfortunately, there's 2 out of the 5 categories do have a negative balance, which creates a challenge for the program, obviously. So what's happening is staff is continuing to receive AZ Smart applications, but we are in conversations with the applicants to say that, depending on the category, you may not have funding to meet all the needs depicted in your application. And we are giving them the option to withdraw their application if they desire, which is not good news, obviously. But also, if the funding in any of the categories that does have funding now ends up running out of funding with the pending applications, the situation that we're in right now is that we have to wait for the $2.5 million in funding from the legislature to be appropriated or allocated to the AZ SMART program before we can use it. And/or we have the option, or there could be additional funding allocated to the program in the January redistribution. So I guess the summary there is that unfortunately we don't have additional funding from the ongoing projects, and then we're going to have to wait for that $2.5 million and/or the January distribution to really move projects forward, additional projects forward, I should say.
And what date is that, are those dollars supposed to be cut to us?
Chair Maxwell, so I was speaking to Veronica, our program manager, today, and there's a 90-day window from, I believe it's the June 15th date when it's actually approved by the legislature, and that puts us in the September timeframe to actually kind of have the funding solidified. But then after it gets solidified, there's a whole process it needs to go through with FMS to actually get allocated to the program. So, my best guess is probably October, November timeframe before the funding would actually be available to the program, depending on a lot of moving mechanics that need to occur.
All right, and just because of that, we will not see any of the pending applications, anything that's in there, even if, as we look at the bottom line on this one, there's a few of the categories that if we were to basically approve all the requests we've had, 2 of them would be negative, and the overall balance would be negative as well. So until we get those additional funds in.
Chair Maxwell, I believe that that's the prerogative of the board. If you'd like to see the applications, we could still bring them to you so you can see, the interest from the applicants and the desire for the program to be funded. But at the end of the day, I don't think, to your point, we would be able to actually fund the project. So I guess that's up to the board how you'd like us to approach it.
I think at this point, my opinion, I'd love to hear from the other board members too, is until we know we've got funds we can give to it, there's really no reason just to bring that before the board. That doesn't allow you to do your appropriate review and get everything set up. The funds need to be there. We obviously are huge supporters of this program, and we'll be very glad to see that money come in. Member Elders, see your light screen.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I have probably several questions and a response to your question as far as my preference as a board member as to whether we continue to solicit these applications or not. But prior to doing that, so $2.5 million will be added or will be replaced. It's already legislated, so it's a matter of time.
Correct.
Even when it does, it's unlikely to change in those 2 buckets the outcome from a negative to positive. It may change one, but definitely not the other, because it's 4.9, almost $5 million in the hole in the third bucket. So to that end, we're stuck in those 2 buckets. And the other ones, Mr. Chairman, there's no reason to not solicit, receive, review, analyze, and present to the board in the 3 buckets that have funding to be allocated. I would go one step further, and this is just a suggestion, and my preference is to continue to solicit applications from the munis under 10 and greater than 10, because those are the 2 categories there are in the negative. And at least document that. Going back to the first slide that you presented, which is again an excellent presentation and summary of the return on that investment. And I know Director Clough and all the leadership and ADOT, when given an opportunity to present, will present information to justify and advocate for. So I assume the legislature saw this slide or this information when they decided to sweep this one. At least I hope they did. My point is, it would be great to continue to solicit, analyze, and track these applications, at least to justify and make the case of the purpose for this program and what the communities that need it the most are missing out on. So I think if we don't receive applications and track them and present the data, we will be doing a disservice, and that is my preference. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a difference for us between considering the award, because in those two municipalities, I mean, bottom line is right now, as I see the program, we've got $5.6 million in the bank. Is that a correct statement?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So we've got $5.6 million in the bank. We've got in the county over 100,000. We've got match requests for 245,000. We should probably continue to move those forward as long as we've got the money in the bank. Same thing with the ADOT, who we wanted to consider this. This is the director's discretion. The director's got match awards in there right now for 834,000. They've got 100 are currently available after approval. They've got funds available. We should continue to move those forward. Kind of goes back to what we just talked about on NEMI. If we've got the funds available, we're authorized to do them, and we've got requests, we should continue to move those forward. The thing that I think is important to get out, and I agree with you, Member Eldridge, I'd love to see a list of all the requests in the muni less than 10,000 and the muni greater than 10,000, because I'd love to be able to share that with the legislature. Because in the munis less than 10,000, we got $6 million of requests based on a 3-to-1 trade-off that had $18 million of federal investment. But because they've lowered the amount they put into this, and this has been a very, very successful program, one they created, I want to make sure we give them credit for that. It's been a very, very successful program. But the two entities that have probably used it more over the existence of this program, the municipal local investments, are in a position where we could go through and rank order the ones in of the $6 million and the $2 million in the muni less than 10,000. We could rank order those and award up to 1.1 million. And even after we get the additional money, it's only going up to 1.6 because we are prohibited from doing anything other than distribute it equally. Right. So we can't move this funding around we have. So I think to Member Elder's point, it's great for us to know where they are. And it's great for them. I mean, even though we know legislative elections are going on right now, we're not trying to put a thumb on the scale and point out this is as soon as those elections are over, it'd be great to talk to the folks before they're going in, that you've got your municipalities out there asking for this money in a program that's successful, and we can demonstrate 3-to-1 federal return on the money. And I think it's something that would provide those who are willing to engage on the legislative level and legally can do so, to do so. So I agree with I want to continue to accept, I want to continue to track. The bigger that number gets, the more of a statement it is to the legislature. And I would like to see us to continue to award, unless there's a reason not to, in the two categories that are available. Again, I'll leave it up to the director to make the decision if she wants to wants to go forward, and there's other things we can't put back. But that money's sitting idly, doing nothing. And we've talked a lot about the shortfall of infrastructure funding in the state. So I think we need to be good stewards of that money that the legislature gave us. We need to put it forward and get it engaged. And I would like to just remind you that $2.5 million that we're getting this year, it wasn't coming from the general funds. It was a mandated use of HERF dollars. So the HERF dollars we get that normally would be distributed elsewhere will now come forward to fund this. And I'd love to see the legislature get back to the point of funding the SMART funding itself. It's been so successful. So that's kind of my thoughts on what we do. And I
have 2 vacancies now on the board, and we don't know what the turnover of the legislature will look like come January. And I think it's critical for our board to be in communication and let the incoming legislature know about how important this is, and their support is absolutely needed. One other thing too is to go back to what happened, I think it was in Sierra Vista, when there was an error on an application. Are we working to support the folks that are applying for these Arizona Smart Funds so that they do check all the boxes or don't check the wrong boxes? And what happened in Sierra Vista happens again, because it would impact the timeliness of the projects and then the budget as well going forward. And then as we approach a zero balance on the Arizona Smart Fund, I think everybody needs to be working to lobby the legislature to make sure that they do. I just don't feel like they realize how urgent this is. And then back on the financial report, there was a box or a chart where it listed obligated funds and unobligated funds. How does that somehow, can that be utilized towards the smart funds, or am I not very well informed on that? Because there was, or sometimes when you say unobligated funds, it's not obligated, but it's already obligated. So that's my question. I don't know if you can remember that.
Director, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm asking Jake to come back up since that was part of the financial report.
Thank you, Chairman Maxwell, Member Peshlikai. No, those couldn't be reallocated to the SMART Fund, unfortunately.
And, Mr. Chair, and that's nothing that the legislature can work on? I'm just kind of shooting around in the dark with our ideas, so let me know if I'm way off base.
No, the legislature has lots of ability to, find for additional ways that we can have additional funding in the SMART Fund, and that specific idea may or may not fall into that. I'm not sure. In the moment, I'm not sure.
One of the comments that we made at the last board meeting was to take a look at, we always bring forward feedback projects when we have funds available because of other projects either coming in below estimate, and when they're throughout the year, we're able to add more projects into the 5-year plan. Quite often, they've started in the 5-year plan, and actually in the current year construction. And one of the things that somebody brought up last week was, is there any way at any time that those funds come available for us to move them into the SMART Fund? And I think the director's saying, Director.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify, the obligated and unobligated funds are associated with our federal funds. So those can't be used for Arizona Smart. And then in relation to being able to take some of the highway user revenue funds or the state highway funds and apply them into the Arizona Smart Fund, the board is not able to take those actions. It has to be legislatively appropriated in some way, shape, or form.
Member Elders.
Mr. Chairman, just to piggyback off of the discussion and what you just heard from the director, not that she needs my affirmation, but that is my understanding as well, that these dollars are legislated and was approved as a result of the legislative session ending. So only the legislator can change it or add to it. However, if I understand Board Member Petsulka's question, I think you're looking ahead into next legislative session, and perhaps that is a true opportunity where the message could be reinforced and the value of this fund be highlighted again. I think that's where you're going with it. So it seems like not much can be done now that the future is wide open for the legislature next year to take a different approach to this.
And Director, thank you for clarifying that. I'm pretty sure we've always thought on that. It'd be helpful if we could go back and find the original legislation that created the AZ Smart Fund. I'm sure some folks that I work with could find it as well, but if you've got easy access or if somebody's got easy access to get that to us, because that would remind us who the sponsors and co-sponsors to that legislation were as well. And if they're still, certainly it'd be great to go back and try to get their support for any efforts to get good funding. Again, I appreciate the legislature ensuring that we have some money this year, but it didn't add any funding to our infrastructure because this really was a HERF movement forward into the Smart Fund. And I think as a board, we all have to advocate for the proper funding for infrastructure. And what we're doing now is back to the point where we're competing different funding sources against each other, and they're competing for $4. Enough said on that. Any other comments, Member Elders?
Just a question, do you, Mr. Chairman, do we need a motion and approval to provide the response the staff needs as far as continuing to receive and allocate in the buckets that have funding, and then to receive applications in the buckets that are upside down now? Or are you good as it is?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, what I heard was anything pending in the county and ADOT, go ahead and bring those forward for the board's either approval or disapproval. And then the request for the munis, go ahead and bring that list forward as for information only. Did I capture that correctly?
I think so, Director. I think what we can look at is we've still got, because we just redistributed in July, both the muni less than 10 and the muni greater than 10 have 1.121 and change $1 million available. If there are requests under those amounts, those could be brought forward to us to consider. I don't know how many awards make up the $6 million match awards request, if that's a single entity, or I'll leave that up to you and your staff. But I do think if there's requests, they should be considered if we have the funds available.
Got it. Go ahead and bring all of them forward for the board's discussion.
Yes, ma'am, that'd be great. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't think there's a board vote needed. We've kind of, because of the current situation, we put them on hold. We just need to say we're ready. And board didn't vote to put them on hold. It's just because there was concern we didn't know the money we were going to have and everything else. The decision was made correctly by the director to not keep moving. But I think based on everything we've heard today, we'd like to move where we can, and hopefully September 15th, the funds will transfer over, and when all gets worked out, we'll have some more funds to consider. And obviously, some of the categories, we're not going to get all the ones that are even currently in request.
Mr. Chair,
Member Giles.
I just want to express support for what we talked about, and not hitting pause on these applications. Time is money, and so the more we can do is, and hoping for funding to bring this to fruition, I think is the wise approach. So I endorse what you can
on this fund specifically is getting a 3-to-1 return. So, thank you. Really appreciate the report. And Doug, just want to make sure that if you've got any comments, I want to give you an opportunity to pitch in. All right, let's continue to move forward. And thank you, Justin. Nothing like being on the hot spot, your first couple. Now we will continue with you on to the P packet.
Thank you, Chair Maxwell, members of the board. I'm happy to hear that there was some excitement about the priority planning advisory committee items today. So we'll jump right in. We have 3 different categories as usual. We'll move to one action at the end just to keep it simple. But under the project modifications category, items 7A through 7C, we have 3 different projects. We have the Omaha Drive Southern Avenue to Cheyenne project, which is installing a 1.2 mile shared use path and a utility easement. We have project 7B, Mountain Breeze Memorial Gardens, Reppy Avenue. This is a project that is being postponed by 1 year in the program to be combined with an emergency response program for efficiencies that'll save the state money in the end. And then finally, item 7C, East Holbrook TI overpass, eastbound and westbound. This is a project that required an increase in funding of about $640,000 because it went from, after a thorough engineering analysis, it went from a rehabilitation project to a replacement job. So the dollar amount went up because that work is a little more robust and complex. Next slide, please. So now we're going to get into the meat of the 49 projects that I mentioned earlier as phase 3 of the EV charging station program. One note on these is that they do vary in cost between $900,000 and $800,000 depending on the location of the project. The reason behind that is that locations that are adjacent to more urbanized areas typically take less costs to install these EV charging stations, just because the utilities are more present and there's just less effort needed to get the utilities to the locations. So in all these, there's one project in Chandler. All of them are $900,000 except 7K, which is in Chandler, and obviously that's in a more urban area, so that one's at $800,000. Next slide, please. So moving on with continuing the EV charging station installation projects, items 7O through 7Y. It's the same story. All these are between $900,000 and $800,000 to install, except for the one in Marana and also the one in Flagstaff because they're adjacent to an urbanized area. Next slide, please. And then the final slide of the 49 projects in phase 3, items 7Z through 7HH. It's the same story, EV charging stations between $900,000 and $800,000 to install, with the exception of 7EE, which is in Tempe. That one's $800,000 for being in an urban environment. And then 7II is unique in the sense that this is a public-private partnership item, and it's a contract with a program oversight contractor to administer the program and make sure that all the contractors are maintaining all these EV stations are in a state of good repair and perpetuity. So that's a unique one. And with that, and then after that, next slide please, we'll move on to the airport projects. There's 4 airport projects. The item 7JJ, Page Municipal, this one is a result of a project increase of more than 15% as determined by the state aviation engineer. Items 7KK through 7NN, the Glendale Regional Airport is installing an apron. Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, there's apron improvements. And then finally, the Yuma Marine Corps Air Station, there is an access road being installed and a rehabilitation of an apron. So the action requested of the board is to approve items 7A through 7NN, and that concludes my presentation.
All right, is there any board member that would like to take this in individual chunks or break it up, or is everybody good with us taking it all in one? Okay. Could I get a motion? Member Pescott.
7A and to 7NN. Entirely as well.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion from member Peshkai, take a second from member Elder, the day, you know that one over there. Is there any discussion? The one thing I'd like to say before we take the vote is, I mean, it's a very aggressive, heavy plan laid down. I have no idea how many agencies actually build and install the chargers and the need up there. A lot of them were in remote areas, and a lot of them were close by, and I don't know what we can do to ensure that when the contractors in that area, they're aware of all the other ones as well, because I do think ultimately with this being a public-private partnership format, and that having several in one area may increase the opportunity to get those nominations, since we're not packaging any of them per se as a bundle, or bidding on the bundle instead. Hopefully we'll be able to have in the discussion phase of solicitation for these, we'll be able to make sure folks understand that sometimes the regional ones will be considered. We get multiple bids on those, or bids on multiple of those stations. So, any further discussion? All right, so all those in favor of approving the PPACs 7A through 7NN, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Doug. And with that, we have unanimous approval of the PPAC modification and new projects. And the PPAC airport projects. All right.
Thank you, Lord.
Justin, I appreciate it. Well done.
Thank you.
There's a lot of information. We'll now move on to item 8, the state engineer's report with Bobby Harris.
Justin's a lot taller than me, I see. So good morning, Chair, members of the board, Audrey Merrick, Deputy Director, State Engineer. And I have item number 8 for you today, which is the State Engineer's Report. For the month of July, the summary of active projects and finalized projects, we have 117 projects under construction, valued at $3.3 billion. 4 projects were finalized for the month of July at $44.7 million. And then fiscal year to date, we have 4 projects finalized. And the famous picture that I started just probably about 2 months ago, this is the, I'm trying to remember which one it is, the Sunset Links interchange on the Ina DeRuth Rock down there on I-10. And so thanks for South Central District for providing that picture. Next, I'll provide you just a few select project highlights on the next slides. Next slide. I will not go over the Northwest District today. I'll kind of keep that as a placeholder since they did such a great job presenting on that district this morning. So next slide. Over in the North Central District, we have the top project, which is the State Route 260 Lion Springs project. And they're busy doing some clearing and grubbing on that project and some roadway excavation. And we're expected completion of that is still September 29, so we're just still getting going on that project. The mainline paving on the US 60 Tuba City East project is now complete, and so we're working on the chip seal on that now. The completion is expected in October of 2026. And then I'm going to jump down to there on I-40, the Two Guns to Denison. The paving is complete on that project too, and we're working on some bridge repairs, guardrail striping, rumble strip, just a few remaining items, and the completion is expected still this fall. Next slide. A few highlights from the Northeast District. Looking at the top, we have the US 6061 to Wildcat Creek project, and we just issued substantial construction completion on that project, so you'll see that fall off the slide deck here soon. And then jumping down to the third project, State Route 77 Little Colorado River Bridge project. We're working on the final striping on that project and installing some signage, and so that will be complete here soon. Next slide. I'm looking at the Southwest District. We have the US 95 Imperial Dam Road Aberdeen Road project, and they're working on grading those two roundabouts, one at Imperial, one at Aberdeen Road. And the completion of that is expected in the summer of 2027, so we're looking at next year. And then the following three projects are just starting, and we've had the partnering pre-con conferences on those projects really within probably the last week or 2 weeks or so. Next slide. Moving on to the South Central District. The two project highlights are the I-10 Keno to Country Club project. And that project is moving along. We are ahead of schedule and under budget. And then the new project on the slide is the I-19 Irvington Road Traffic Interchange that we're just starting. Next slide. Moving over to the Southeast District, we have two new projects on this slide that are just starting, and they're both passing lane projects. So the first is in the middle of the slide. It's the State Route 79 north of Florence to Queen Valley project. And the contractor is working on some clearing and grubbing, grading the roadway, and drainage work. And then also that one there at the bottom, which is the the bottom one, US 191 from US 70 to milepost 134 project. That's our second passing lane project, and we're working on grading and some box culvert extension work there. And both of those passing lane projects we expect to be complete next year. Next slide. And then over in the Central District, we have the State Route 303 at I-17 project. The bridge work is moving forward, and the roadway excavation is about 78% complete on that project. The State Route 101 widening from I-17 to 75th Avenue is continuing with its diamond grind, and the bridges are nearing completion on that project. And then closer to the bottom of the slide is the State Route 202 widening project from Val Vista to 101, and the contractor is continuing with the westbound sound walls. We still have two bridges remaining to be complete on that project. And the concrete paving on that project is actually 97% complete, so that's good news. Chair Maxwell, that's what I have for this item. I'd be happy to take any questions or move on to the next one.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you, especially highlighting that Sunset Leagues Bridge down. That was a significant project that provided connectivity for an area of Pima County that did not have a good path to get on the I-10, and actually was causing traffic problems and multiple other TIs. So it was a big project and part of our RTA, so our Regional Transportation Authority efforts, and appreciate you highlighting that one. Anybody have any questions for her? All right. Thank you for that. And that being said, we will move on to item 9, the construction contracts.
So this is where I get to spend the money. So moving on to item number 9, it's the new construction contract item like you mentioned. We have this actually on 2 slides. The first slide is the 6 new projects that you've approved here today on the consent agenda. Thank you for the approval on those projects. I just wanted to quickly note on this slide, which is item 3J. And 3J is one of those projects that we shifted about a year and a half ago roughly to put Lion Springs and 347 into the program. And so I just wanted to point that out to you today, that that's the second of the third projects. So we are delivering on those 3 projects. The third project, which is up on I-40, is actually in the program for fiscal year 27. So I just wanted to mention that on this slide. Next slide.
Member Oaks.
I would really like to highlight the fact that you're tracking those projects. Thank you. We agonized over that action to fund both SR 347 and SR 260. And I think we reluctantly moved ahead and asked to defer those projects, those pavement press, and ask the department, the director, you and staff to find a way, and you're finding a way, and you're reminding us that those are moving forward. And it's really important that we keep pavement preservation on track. So thank you for highlighting that, and I look forward to having the third one, which would be, I think there was a total of 3. This is the second one moving forward.
Yeah, so the first one is in construction now. This is the second one, and the third one will be fiscal year 27.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Rogers, and I know if Vice Chair Howard was here, she would echo his same comments. So thank you for monitoring that and reporting back to us on that.
Sure.
Continue.
Sure. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go, that one. So these are the additional projects we have under new construction today, items 9A through 9D. If you add these slides together, or when you add these slides together, the total for this month, we're looking at 11.9% under the department estimate, and then fiscal year to date, we're running 12.5% under the construction estimate. So with that, Chair, well, I guess I have one more. I'm sorry. Next slide, please. Yeah. So these are the monthly totals that we show you every month. So for the month of August, we have 10 bid openings, and we have 10 awards. However, they're not the same projects. So we have 10 bids, and today 9 of those you're seeing in award, whether it was consent or this item, and 1 is postponement, which I'll talk about here soon. And then the reason why we're at 10 awards is because we had that postponement for last month, and you have that one today. So that's the reason why those 2 numbers are the same, but not necessarily the same project. So just wanted to point that out as well. Next slide. So Chair Maxwell, would you like me to go through all these in one motion?
Yes, since we've got 4, we've got a couple different motions at the end. If you could run through these quickly.
Okay, perfect. So first we have item 9A, which is a system preservation project on Interstate 10. It is located in La Paz County. It's approximately 12 miles long, and the work consists of milling and filling, some AC, guardrail, pipe extensions, some other related work. The low bid is $29,165,818. Under the department estimate by $6,347,467, or 17.9%. The main difference here was in the asphalt items, as you can see in the lower box on the screen. The contractor has his own pit, which is nearby. He's crushing his own aggregate, making his own asphalt, and our bid prices were based on those historic costs and didn't take, obviously, that into consideration. So with that being said, after review and analysis of the low bid, the bid was determined to be responsive and the bidder responsible, and the recommended award is to F&F Construction, Inc. Moving on to, you want to take this one, right? Moving on to item 9B. 9B is a 6-mile fence replacement project up on Interstate 40. The project's located in Coconino County, just west of Flagstaff, over there in the Belmont area. We have a low bid of $1,007,234, which is under the department estimate by $405,907, or 28.7% difference. For this, the contractor offered higher, really competitive production rates than what we assumed in the department estimate. We did have 3 bidders for the project. 2 were under and 1 was over the department estimate. So with that being said, after review and analysis of the low bid, the bid was determined to be responsive and the bidder is responsible, and we will recommend the award to Sholo Construction, Inc. Next slide. Item 9C is a bridge rehab project. It's a local project for the town of Oro Valley. The bridge is located at Honey Bee Wash. The work consists of removing and replacing portions of the bridge deck, some barrier, approach slab. I believe there could be some scour work in there as well. We have a low bid of $652,682, which is over the department estimate by $87,464, or 15.5%. There were 2 bidders for this project. This is a local project, and the town of Oro Valley is interested in pursuing the project. However, they're looking for those availability of funds and going through their process in order for that to happen. So to provide the town time to work through their processes, we recommend the postponement this item until next month. And then moving on to item 9D. 9D, this is an ADA improvement project on State Route 89 in Chino Valley. The project is improving ramps, sidewalks, and driveways to comply with the ADA requirements. We have a low bid of $795,500, bless you by the way, under the department estimate by $95,016, or 10.7%. There were 6 bidders for this project. 3 were under, 3 were over. As you recall, this was postponed last month. Typically, this would be on the consent agenda, but we had a protest, and so we pulled it off to provide that transparency with you all. That protest has since been resolved, and so the protesting party has informed us that they will not be pursuing the protest. And so after review of the protest information and the low bid was determined to be responsive, and the bidder is responsible, and we recommend the award to Combs Construction Company, LLC. And those are the 4 items for you today.